Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. We are once again back at the magnificent Rieger organ of Marienstatt Abbey here in the Westerwald in Germany, about half an hour away from where I live. So it's always wonderful when Brother Gregor gets on the phone and says, come on back and play the organ again. So here we are. It's shortly before Christmas. And as you may remember from the previous videos here, I did say we would be taking you with us on the journey as this organ becomes, as it becomes larger and larger, as it gets enlarged and all these new exciting additions arrive. Well, that won't be happening as quickly as we thought. Germany is once again in a corona lockdown, and there's nothing we can do about that. But what it does unfortunately mean is that the work on the organ has had to be postponed ever so slightly. So while we thought that everything would start before Christmas, actually nothing has happened until now. Parts of the auxiliary division were supposed to be taken away, and the auxiliary case was supposed to disappear, to be enlarged and so on, but that hasn't happened because quite simply not allowed to. And the new console that was supposed to have been delivered already, it isn't here yet, obviously, because people aren't supposed to be going out and about all that much. So Brother Gregor invited me back and said, look, before everything does start disappearing in the new year, or before we're not allowed to even go into churches anymore, wouldn't it be a nice idea to come back and play some Christmas music on the organ? So that's what we're going to do tonight. So I have some other organ news for you, some console news. Now, it's not this console, and it's not the new console for this church, but it's another console that will be featured in our videos rather regularly. It's going to be my new organ console. Now, remember at the beginning of last year, at the beginning of 2020, sorry, at the beginning of the year, I said I'd saved up some cash and I was going to buy my own Hauptwerk organ. Now, what's Hauptwerk? That's that organ sampling software for your PC, where you have a MIDI console and you can control everything using that. So, and the plan was that I was going to buy or build my own MIDI console this year and use it for YouTube purposes and also for practicing at home, not rather than coming to freezing churches late at night, however magnificent they may be. So that was the plan. And then, of course, Corona arrived. So all the money we'd managed to save up at the beginning of the year for this project, disappeared. Yeah, the joys of being a freelance musician in a pandemic. Yeah, so everything we'd saved up disappeared. And I don't want to be too moany about it, but 3 months of the year this year, I didn't earn a single penny. It was really quite worrying for a while, but then things finally got sort of back up again. We managed to sort of get back to normal, as it were, certainly financially, so that was all right. But now, at the end of the day, I still haven't really managed to save up as much as I had hoped, so I can't be getting this console thing started myself. But two rather expensive parts of the console have finally arrived. The first being a pedal board, an actual organ pedal board, and that was donated to me as a present by a rather generous donor. So thank you very, very much for that. That's rather amazing. That's one of the most expensive parts of an organ console, especially when you're building it yourself. So this is a fully electrified, ready to go pedal. It's a 30-note pedal. It looks pretty much exactly like this one. It's got the black keys and the normal wooden-colored white keys. So, it looks pretty much like this. Perfect. And the other piece I've got is this, an organ bench. And of course, that's a rather expensive piece of kit as well. And I managed to find one on eBay in Germany for the princely sum of €1. So that's going to be picked up as soon as I can get hold of it, which is going to be rather exciting. So there we are. Now I have two very fancy wooden bits of my console. So all I need now are some manuals, some keyboards, and some electronics to join it all together. And then I'm ready to go. I've already got a PC at home with the software running on it. I don't need to go all out and buy fancy new PC and fancy loudspeakers and all that sort of stuff. That will come with time. Yeah, this is just something for home use, for YouTube use for you guys, and of course so that I can be practicing at the time, or practicing at home rather than coming out to these cold churches. So that's the plan. But don't worry, I will be informing you and keeping you up to date on our Hauptwerk journey, all the bits and pieces we've got. And as the console sort of finally gets put together, and all the trials and tribulations of putting something like that together, I will be taking you along on that journey. So there you are. That's our exciting news for the moment. You can, of course, help us out a little bit if you want. We have paypal.me/Gartshore, and that's if you want to just donate something towards our new organ fund, as it were. Let's call it an organ fund, shall we? Or if you want to do that on a regular basis, why not consider joining us on Patreon, which is now, as you know, international. It's not just for dollar locations. It's in euros, it's in pounds, pound sterling, and so on. So you can join us on Patreon, and you get a sort of variety of perks and extras as a Patreon member, a patron, from extra videos, early access to new videos, and if you join the highest level, you even get one-to-one online music tuition with me. I now have 3 or 4, I think, international music students, let's put it like that, because they're not all organ students, and that's rather exciting. So those are all great possibilities if you want to help us out, and everything that comes in the next little while will be going towards our new console project. We don't know how long this viral nonsense is going to be with us, so I'm trying to secure the future of this channel with some organ music. And of course, the kind of music I play, if I have my own console at home, it means I can't just have church organ samples on there. I can also have theatre organ samples on there, so that's going to be rather exciting. I already have my eyes on a few things there. Right, enough news. What about tonight? Tonight we are going to be presenting a program of Christmas music, not jazzy Christmas music, sorry, because that's not really the thing to do in Marienstatt, but we're going to have some Christmas improvisations. Now, this is the local German hymn book, and I've opened it up, the Christmas section, and I'm just going to sort of work my way through 5 or 6 well-known German Christmas hymns, and I will be improvising around them on this magnificent organ, showing off some of its lovely tonal colors and taking you along with me. So here we go with some lovely Christmas music for you. We're going to start off with something rather gentle, and as you may have realized from previous videos I've recorded here, I love the soft sounds on this organ, especially the Choral Bordun with its celeste, which is just absolutely beautifully dreamy. So we're taking a very traditional old melody. You may recognize it from English, from its Latin name actually, Quem Pastores Lauda Vere. It's a rather beautiful melody. It's sort of a lilting, sort of almost waltzy-like melody, I think you could say. And this organ is perfectly suited for that. Like I say, we've got our Bordun with its celeste. I've got the beautiful swell oboe that I can use there. And I've just sort of coupled a few nice little sounds together. Now, harmonically, I'm going to sort of try to play a little bit like our, whoops, what was that? Like our Duruflé. Remember the video I recorded here recently of the Duruflé? I love his harmonic progressions. I think they're absolutely wonderful. So I'm going to try something like that here, and let's see where it takes us. I don't know. The piece is written in F. I'm going to start in F major, and let's see where we end up. I never really know once I start where this is going, where we're going to end up. So let's find out. Quem Pastores Lauda Vere. there's a rather lovely Christmas melody that a number of composers have taken and played around with. And it's to do with a rose. There is a rose. What's it called? What do you call it in English? You know what I mean, don't you? Herbert Howells wrote a beautiful version of it. Brahms wrote a beautiful version of it. The original is in German called "Es ist ein Ros entsprungen." I think you will recognize the melody when you hear it. Now, what I've done is I've set the organ up completely differently. It's again a rather quiet, gentle little number. But this time I've done something that very few organists do when they have an organ like this. You have, of course, all these amazing tonal colors at your disposition. It's like a sort of like a painter would have a palette of colors. Well, an organist has a palette of stops, and those are his or her colors to play with. And what I've done, I've taken single stops from each manual, each division, and I'm just going to sort of improvise around that melody, that very simple melody, just with those simple colors. Simple as that. So what I've got the quintada from the fourth manual. That's a very sort of old-fashioned sounding stop. So I'm using that at the beginning. Actually, I better set that up for that. Using that at the beginning. And then I've got the Rohrflöte from the swell on its own, an 8-foot flute. Then another 8-foot flute here on the grate. That's the Spitzflöte, 8-foot. And then down on the Rückpositiv, pipes behind me, that's the Spitzgedacht 8-foot. And in each case, I've coupled those stops down to the pedal. So I have it on 4, 3, 2, 1, if you want to see what I'm doing there. You see, sometimes I press these buttons to change. What that's doing is changing the registrations I've saved here, so I don't have to do it with the hands. I can just save them here on a little computer and do them here. So that's my first manual, second, third, fourth. This is for this piece. For different pieces, it's different, obviously. So no pedal stops at all. It's just very, very simple, very plain. And like I say, it's something not a lot of organists would do when they have a large organ like this to play with. So that's what we're going to do here. There is a rose. It's not Christmas without Silent Night. And you all know the story behind Silent Night. Yeah, the Austrian church where the organ wasn't working, and the guy got his guitar out and strummed this little number, wrote it down on a piece of paper, and when the organ builder came to repair the organ, he found this piece of music and thought, hello, that sounds like a bit of all right. Took it to a music publisher, and boom, it became the most famous Christmas tune around the world. So it's rather exciting. Funny to think that it started out as a guitar tune for the church. Yeah. Anyway, there we are. Now, on this organ, of course, you can do all sorts of amazingly beautiful things with Silent Night. For example, we can use our celesta, the celeste. And I don't mean the celeste sounds, the slightly off-tune flutes and strings to give that beautiful sort of undulating effect. I mean a real celesta, an instrument with little hammers. The little bells, you know what I mean. So here we are, the Christmas bells, Silent Night, all 3 verses, but I'm giving it a bit of a sort of a harmonic twist. Remember your Christmas album collection when you were younger, and there was that one piece that you thought, hold on a minute, that sounds almost classical. Well, you're probably right, it is. It's In Dulci Jubilo. Remember that? That dancey sounding thing that was on all the Christmas albums when you were young. Well, it is, of course, a very old traditional Latin church hymn, and I thought I'd give it a bit of a dancey feel here on the organ tonight. Time to close things up for this evening. So until now, I've just been playing sort of with parts of the organ. I've been doing sort of various little bits and pieces and showing off little sounds. Now it's time to show off some big sounds, and we're going to build the organ up to a huge, massive tutti. And of course, for that, we need a famous international Christmas tune. And what better than Adeste Fideles, or as you probably know it better, O Come All Ye Faithful, and a sort of a majestic sounding, shall we say, an outro on O Come All Ye Faithful. I hope you have enjoyed our little Christmas medley from Marienstatt this evening. There will be more music coming over the Christmas period, so stay tuned. And all that remains is for me to wish you a very happy Christmas and a good start in the new year if we don't see you until then. And yeah, stay safe, stay healthy, and see you on the other side. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.